name is Kirsty Dignam. I can't help but giggle. Gosh, there's some energy, but we will get back to that. My name is Kirsty Dignam, and I'm here to look at the weekly energy with today's Monday's musings. Okay, let's just stop and take stock. So today there's a new moon in Gemini, and new moons are often a time for planting seeds, manifestation, making new beginnings. But in order to make new beginnings, we have to look at what is ending. In order to let go, we have to look at what we bring in. One of the emphasis today very much feels on looking at how we relate to both aspects, of creativity, how we relate to our reflective, intuitive, feminine side of creativity, and how that impacts and relates to our more action-based, masculine creativity, and all the bits in between. I was going to go into great depth about the masculine having the feminine having the masculine, but all the bits in between, I almost see like a molecular soup. And that's what I'm seeing for the energies this week. How we are to become so very aware that we are all atoms within this molecular soup called life, especially in regards to relationships. So what happens to atoms while they're moving along, just like us, happy-go-lucky in our life, and they will bump into another atom, and that will affect how fast they vibrate. That will affect their energy, their sound, their connection, their health, their well-being, and what it is they're going to be. The same thing happens to us in life. We're wobbling along like an atom. We have our own vibration, which gives us our own sound, which gives us our own energy, our own connection, our own path, what it is we are here to do. And along comes life, and that can be a person or a situation or a job or whatever, and it just knocks us, and it changes our vibration, and it changes our form, and it helps us to evolve. This week in particular, it feels like being made very aware of the soups that we choose to remain in. And I was going to say find ourselves in, but no, very adamant energy, the soups that we choose to remain in. With this new moon in Gemini, relationships are going to be under the spotlight, and I cannot stress it enough, none more so than the one with ourselves. This week we are going to be looking at how we suppress all aspects of ourselves and the impact that has in how we relate with others. You know, when an atom is knocked, its vibration does change, its course of action can change, but nothing stops that atom from getting back on track. Nothing stops that atom from slowly returning back to normal than the atom itself. So this week in particular, if we are searching for a piece of who we are, quite literally as well, I hear a piece of who we are, maybe a lot of soul retrievals, a lot of soul retrievals this week. If we are searching for a piece within us, again, the emphasis there, that soul retrieval, that piece is always within us. It is down to us to stand still and find it. It is down to us to perhaps look at why we are placing ourselves in the position of certain things that are knocking us, what we are gaining from this, primary gains and secondary gains. So when it comes to change, we can have certain aspects that will really help us evolve. We can then also pick certain aspects that stop us from evolving because we have a secondary gain under that, an old pattern, an old way of thinking. So, you know, if we stay in this type of scenario, even though we may not like it, it's what we know and it's safe to us. Yeah, and the gain from that is not to have rejection or not to have change that we can't control or not to be seen or whatever. And this week in particular, it's really looking at the star card to my right. It's really looking at what secondary gains are stopping us from achieving that higher vision. So we are leading up to the 6/6 portal, and that's the giggly energy that I can feel. Last week we had thunderstorms galore, we had the Heyoka energy, we had that tower energy, that real shake up, turn things on its head, see things for what they are. The other aspect of the Heyoka energy is comedy. It is a light vibration. It is not to take things or ourselves too seriously, and that can be very difficult when we can see just how impactful certain things are in our life, which many of us have done over the last few years. It's almost like taking on the responsibility of being aware of that has kind of got rid of the sense of humor, and I can definitely relate to that, but I've seen it collectively as well. And when we lose our sense of humour, we lose many things. We lose the ability to heal quickly and swiftly. We lose the ability to get to the point. I can hear that. We lose the ability to it just feels like that actually, to get to the point with everything, whether that's healing, whether that's relationships. We start to take things personally. We start to make the shadow bigger than it needs to be, and we start to lose sight of the lightness behind it. And for me this week in particular, and for all of us collectively, we're going to feel a more devil type energy rising, and it is in relation to the 666 portal. No coincidence, right? It's the one that we've been waiting for this year to really shed light on where we have been holding ourselves back, and to really have a good look at ourselves this week. So 666, yeah, adds up to 18, which adds up to 9. So it's a real completion there, and a real opportunity to take the second half of the year with the solstice not far behind it, the second half of the year through to that more balanced light and dark oneness, rather than this polarity. Polarity is great. Labels are great for when we want to name something for what it is, when we want that more factual vision. However, it's time to start seeing things from all angles, including ourselves, from an expanded perspective here. So what else? What else? I'm just trying to get the handle of my cup, get a handle on what is going on this week, really get a grip of what is going on for you this week, in order to really understand what is occurring around us. You know, there's a lot of things going on collectively, particularly in the media, and a lot of sides being taken, a lot of energies being risen, a lot of our own parts of journeys being reflected. But unless we know what is actually relevant to us, unless we get a handle on what is our stuff, everything is going to be personal, because everything becomes our stuff, because we're not quite sure what is ours to be dealing with in that moment, which is where presence is key. I just had the most incredible session with my own counsellor, and there's very much an emphasis in my own journey here about fact finding, and I would like to share that with others this week in particular, really taking stock of what is occurring, really looking out at our thoughts and our beliefs around certain situations. We still have Mercury in retrograde, and it's the tail end of Mercury in retrograde, which for me personally always comes with a bit of a sting in its tail. And the last eclipse was actually in Scorpio, so we're still going to have that kind of energy just when we think things are done and dusted. We've done that. Oh no, Mercury's still in retrograde. What thoughts are there? What beliefs are there? What old style communications are occurring there that are still giving that bit of a sting in the tail? It can be frustrating, it can be exhausting, or it can be seen as the most incredible opportunity to go into the week after next, into that 666 portal with a more, and I want to say it, justified opinion of ourselves here. So this year is the Lover's card. It is the masculine, the feminine, and the higher vision of the, in the card it's portrayed as the angelic realm, but the guidance, that higher vision there that happens when the polarity comes together. On the 666 portal, we have triple whammy of that 6 energy, and 6 is harmony. And I obviously get excited and I get very passionate about it, and that can bring forward my own too muchness, which will come to light this week as well, being okay with potentially being too much. For those that aren't to be on our path. But for those that are, it will slot in beautifully. And I almost foresee a lot of people relieved to see that version of us coming back, coming home almost. With this triple whammy of the 3, you know, we have on the Lover's card, it's Adam and Eve and it's Eden. We have this wonderful, wonderful opportunity of really recognising our place here on the belly of Pachamama, of really returning to Eden and really bringing that heaven down to earth, Pachacuti type energy on the 666 portal. So I'm actually running a womb wisdom workshop. There is one space remaining. If it does call to you, please give me a heads up. I'm going to prepare as if another person is coming and just trust the process. But there's a great influx. What's the word? I can always see the flux capacitor, which I'll get back to that out of Back to the Future. But there is a great influx of energy coming in to support us right now to go back and look at things that we have left behind that perhaps we could bring forward now. So one of the things I noticed last week was there was a real 80s type feel to the energy that I was relating to the point where I was washing up and I swear I could feel David Bowie by my side, which wouldn't surprise me. David Bowie by my side showing me the film Labyrinth, and then Michael Jackson has been coming through a lot, and I know that these guys have been around, well, ever since their passing, and much gratitude for the energy that has been held as a result of this, in particular in relation to the heart. But what really came up, I was walking my dog and I flashed back to myself in the 80s and that lighter acceptance there that I felt. The 80s were a very difficult time for me in reality, but energetically they felt much easier, and that intrigued me. Why did they feel much easier? So this week, why did certain things feel easier? Why are we looking back and thinking, oh, you know, reminiscing, because that's the other side of the 6, the reminiscing. Why are we looking back and reminiscing what is actually there for us to bring forward? And for me personally, in the 80s, yes, we had different labels, we had different styles, we had different fashions, everything was different in the 80s, but that was accepted more. Okay, or for me personally, this is my perception of the 80s. Yes, we had financial struggles, huge financial struggles, very much like we are having now, but we helped out more and we got stuck in more. Again, my personal perception. And there was something else that came up with the 80s, and I can't quite remember what it was now, but it felt like the vibration of the 80s was the ability to stand firm in what was going on, to be okay with who we were, and that feels like the energy that is coming through this week in particular. So it's going to be different for everyone, and for me it does feel like a chuckling type energy. And some of the advice that actually I had from my counselling session today and from my own guidance in that counselling session was to start acting on some of the things that I feel drawn to act on. So I'm a great advocate of, if I get guidance to be somewhere, I will be there without question. To an extent, I will stop, drop and heal when asked. This weekend I was at Car Boot and ended up doing readings at a Car Boot sale, and it flows. I love to be part of that flow. With myself, not so much. There'll be certain things like, oh, I really want to do that. And with my own journey, it's like, where will that lead? What is the point of that? And this week in particular, really showing ourselves some compassion in, if we want to share something or be part of something, not to fear too much about being too much for ourselves or others, and just to see if that is actually true by acting on it this week. So we are going to have that lover's energy coming up for the 6-6 portal, but the shadow aspect of that is the devil. So again, reiterating where we are holding ourselves back and perhaps why, but not by going too deep into the mental insights there, because we're talking Gemini. So there is that perfection, that constant need to evaluate. Let's not get caught up in that. Let's act and see if it's actually true. Is that actually true? So I'd like to go to X, Y and Z, but I can't. I'd like to go to drawing class, but I can't actually draw. Is that actually true? Maybe going to that drawing class this week and seeing what comes of it. To be really open to new potential that is actually trying to come through in order to form a heaven on earth for us individually and collectively, but only possible if we actually open, receive from the feminine, but also act from the masculine as well. So it's that sacred union from now until the solstice. So we're 14 minutes in. I'm very aware of that's just coming in, and that's the thing. When we act and we share, it will continually flow. Some of it will resonate, some of it won't resonate, some of it will be too much, some of it won't, and it's being okay with that, maintaining that strength in who we are. Okay, and knowing that is how we grow, that is how we learn. So there was something else about the acting, so let's just see. Okay, no, that's interesting. That's to do with political and it's to do with media. And for me personally, that doesn't resonate. So I'm not going to actually feed that energy. That's what it was. This week in particular, really looking at what we digest, whether that's food, whether that's information, and knowing that we all metaphorically eat differently. Okay, so some people really want to seek out lots of different knowledge and they want to learn different sides and they want to have a taster board of snacking, of grazing, of information, to take what is relevant and not eat too much and not want to find out too much about certain things. I'm a grazer. I am a grazer, and if I like something, if it agrees with my body, excellent. If not, next course. Yeah, next journey, next path. That's how I deal with my life. I also have friends and family that have one energy in particular that they really enjoy in their life. It feels safe, it feels comfortable, this is what works for them. And that's the emphasis. Does it work for you this week? So when differentiating between gains and secondary gains, benefits and losses, does it actually work for you? Does it make your body feel satisfied? Does it make your Elvis now in my head, does it make you feel complete? Completion is key this week. And if it does, fantastic. If it does, maybe looking at a different metaphorical menu, a different spiritual menu, a different relationship menu, really trying out our taste buds this week in particular with different things, because we've grown, our needs have grown, and what we now want to digest within our journey has grown, and that's okay. That's okay and quite necessary. Otherwise we get bored of the very food of life, whether that's our job, our relationships, our connection, our services, whatever it may be. So the other side of it is really recognizing that everybody is different. Everybody's needs, physical, spiritual, emotional, and this is old hat, but actually it's going back to that again. That's what's trying to come through from the 80s, that everybody's needs are different. Okay, so I'm recognizing and respecting that, really respecting that. How? By lightening it up and not taking things so personally. How do we do that? By knowing what is ours and recognizing our own needs and being able to express them and take responsibility for them. That's key. It's one thing to express them, and that's an amazing thing. To be that vulnerable, to be that raw, to be that open, to be that naked on the Lover's card. It is one thing to express them. It is another thing to then take responsibility for them. Okay, and that really feels like one of the major energies coming up this week is the other side of it, expressing our needs, taking responsibility, seeing what is ours, not taking other things personally, knowing what works for us, allowing others to have that prerogative as well. That is what makes such a beautiful story. So if we all had the same truth, if we all had the same experience, and we all had the same story, then the world itself would be very 2D and very limited. This way, we may not agree with what everybody says. We may not resonate, this video included, with certain aspects or theories or whatever. However, what that does is build a bigger picture of a story that is occurring, a more epic movie, shall we say, that we are then part of. It's up to us to decide how big we let this be now. Okay. I was talking to my friend today, and for me, very much opinions, and it's a personal opinion, opinions, views, beliefs are very much like art. And we are the artist. And to say to somebody that is wrong, your belief is wrong, your opinion is wrong, is very much like taking paintbrushes out of an artist's hand. And those artists are guided by something far bigger than themselves. So it could be ancestral stories that need healing, that can only be done so by being painted through their actions. You know, it could be a legacy that needs to be left for our future generation that can only be achieved if they are allowed to express what is occurring. It could be the story of Pachamama herself, the earth, her own wounds through us, and our beliefs, our opinions, our thoughts are all ways that we create with the energy that we are given, and we are all entitled to express that. So this week in particular, being very mindful of how we suppress others and how we suppress ourselves. I'm really keeping that balance. So is there anything else? I think that's more than enough. Let's see. Oh yes, okay. Before I get to the reading, I used a spray today and I'm going to use it again, and it's by Amanda Ellis, and I will put it in the link. And it's Beloved Joseph, and it's the Divine Protector. Now, I originally wanted to work with Mother Mary, and just feel that energy coming in. I originally wanted to work with Mother Mary. I really felt drawn to recognizing the energy behind her virginity, the energy behind her. So obviously the word virgin means to belong to no person, but throughout time, Mary being a virgin has been untouched, unsoiled, pure and perfect. And I really wanted to work with Mother Mary because of that, because I can really feel an energy coming up in regards to necessary evil, which is either going to spark a knee-jerk reaction in people, or perhaps like it did with me today, make my brain just flip on its head and just go, oh, okay, devil energy, necessary evil. There are many times when we can get to the point, but we worry about hurting people's feelings. There are many times when we can speak of our needs and go after them, but we worry about not caring of others. There are many times when our opinion is right for us, but we don't want to be egoic, or we want to be compassionate, or we want to understand the versions of other people, and that's beautiful. But this week in particular, the necessary evil is about maintaining balance and being the divine protector of our own virginity, in that we belong to no person but ourselves. And from that space, I really feel that we then take responsibility for our actions, our thoughts, our beliefs, our behaviours, our healing, our connection here, which is the real emphasis leading up to 666 and the whole year in particular. So I didn't work with Mary because I had no Mary spray. In the end, I ended up working with Joseph, Beloved Joseph, and that feels really important to acknowledge. Beloved, beloved. When we are accepting of who we are, when we can embrace all sides of ourselves, even those we may not particularly like to look at, our more shadow aspect, we can be loved. We can be open to love. We can be held by love, and we can give of love. Joseph was the divine protector, that sacred masculine energy that ensured not only the feminine was carried to safety, but that she was then able to create from that space something pretty incredible. Whether you want to call that Jesus, whether you want to call that deliverance of the Christ consciousness, a more pure energy, a heart-based energy, the emphasis is she was protected by the masculine actions that were of love, regardless. Treat yourself to that this week. Retreat yourself to that this week. So for everything that you manage to accomplish, don't forget to give yourself a metaphorical pat on the back. You know, healing is a beautiful journey. It can turn out to be quite a suffering journey when we don't acknowledge the healing that has occurred through rites of passage. Again, I'm going to do a plug. On the 20th of June, I am doing a dispatcher, which is a beautiful ceremony for that, to give thanks for everything that has occurred in line with the solstice. I'm also doing a sound bath on the 19th in Portsmouth to balance the energies of the solstice at Tweedy Clothing, and I'll put links in the comments. But taking time to, every time something has shifted, really acknowledge it. Really acknowledge it, whether it's getting your hair cut. You know, when we cut our hair, we cut out the memories. Getting your hair cut, I don't know, trimming your nails and putting them in the fire, giving gratitude, or, you know, old school magic here. Let's go back to old school magic of rites of passage. Celebration, right, that's done. So that the body has chance to go, okay, so don't have to do that on that level again. That's done. Okay, brilliant. Now I see why David Bowie gave me the film Labyrinth. Yeah, it's really about walking our own labyrinth here, recognizing where we are. And we cannot do that unless we do a rites of passage for the things that have been done, that have been delivered. It is about that acknowledgement of endings and beginnings as part of the whole this week. So the other thing I noticed on this spray bottle, I can never say it, is the Vesius Pisces. the masculine and the feminine. And this is where we're aiming to be smack bam in the middle of it all now, to have that balance, that, do you know, I don't even want to say Christ consciousness. What do I want to say? Well, it's going to be different for everybody. It is going to be different for everybody. To find your essence, to find your pure vibrational state, is going to be different for everybody, but it is about finding that middle ground this week with yourself, so that we're not straight to the point and don't care about other people's opinions, but we're not over giving, so that we're not incredibly reflective but don't actually have any actions. It is about finding our own middle ground this week. Okay, so with that in mind, nearly half an hour in, I'm going to do a quick, and it is going to be quick, reading into the energies collectively this week and the best way to navigate them. So we're going to look at the energies on a soul level, a collective soul level this week first, and then we're going to look at the best way to navigate them. And there's a great beauty there when we do intention, not to forget that intention is key. Intention has always been key. So by saying that it's going to be a quick reading, straight away I knew exactly what type of reading was needed. Intention is key. Be very clear on our intentions this week. Okay, so there's an energy of the answers coming in very quickly, but to take time with the sacredness of it. Okay. So we can have a rites of passage that's a huge ceremony, or we can take a moment, a breath. Thank you. That's done. Okay, and just allowing the body to catch up with that reality. That feels like key this week. On a soul level, in the middle we have the Page of Cups, and collectively there is still that need to ground. That there is still that need to recognize the wonder of who we are by recognizing the wonder of the world around us. It's one thing to see how well we've done, but if we are constantly saying this person has done this person has done that, you know, whether it's media, I'm seeing that a lot, all the time we take sides, there will be polarities. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. All the time we judge someone else, we are actually judging ourselves. And if we can just bring that home and really ground into why we have these beliefs, why we have these thoughts, and be with ourselves with that, with compassion, and take responsibility, then we start to really see the wonder of the world around us. And all that does is reflect back our own wonder, and vice versa. And on a soul collective level, that is what's coming through this week. It is about seeing the Christ consciousness in everything and ourselves as well. To be the beloved, to be the divine protector, the protector of the divine. To find it, to search for it, to hone in on it, to deliver with that energy in everything that we do. And that doesn't always mean that it will be pure and sacred and holier than thou and, you know, saintly. It's about recognizing the divinity in all of our actions. Okay, so in the north, in the space of the ancestors, in the space of our mind and our thoughts and hummingbird, how do we feed from the nectar of life for this big, long, vast journey of the soul? We have the Queen of Swords. And here, really, really, really being clear in our thoughts. Really being clear in our thoughts, not locking away our heart, but perhaps not letting our heart be the sole guide this week. Really connecting to that higher awareness and allowing that to move us forward. I do see a lot of almost like the keyboard warrior type energy this week, because the feminine, the queen, is sat on her sofa. She's sat on her sofa. She's watching the world all waves crashing by the side of her, and people putting their flags out and standing out for what they stand for and everything else. And she's very much, I will just sit here with my sword in my hand and act when needed. But there's a comfort in that this week in particular. And it's that balance of thinking about what we want and actually getting off our butt and going after it. And that is necessary this week. And it's the heart being locked up, the heart not quite getting what it desires, has almost retreated collectively, us in. So very much allowing our thoughts to say, do you know, I'm going to go for that. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Rejection is one of those things. Yeah, and all that does is steer me somewhere else. Easier said than done. I can totally relate to that. In the East, we have the 9 of Pentacles. 9 is a beautiful completion number here, but you know what I love about this card, in the North we have the bird flying high. It's a potential, it's a thought. Ancestrally it would have been an idea as well. Wouldn't that be nice? In the East, once we have that clarity, once we have that guidance of what it is we want, it's not a potential anymore. We're getting it. It's almost being delivered to us in our hands. So there's all these other options we could grab, but actually it's like, no, that is the one that I want. That is the one that I want, and that in itself is enough. This week, if we can really hone in on that and not worry about maybe we won't get it, maybe, you know, take it back to the collective. That's what I'm hearing. Take it back to the collective. When we're not sure about our own self-worth in regards to what it is we are trying to achieve, think about the bigger picture here. How would the collective be affected if you achieved that? And use that energy. Use that bigger, higher energy to keep moving you forward, to be open to receive. And you may feel like, you know, in the South we have the 5 of Cups here, these seeds that have been planted and nothing that has come from it. You know, you may feel like, well, what I want has no impact on the collective. How would that even have an impact? And it is here in the space of healing, in the space of our connection to the earth, in the space of Amaru, the mother of the waters, the serpent. It is about shedding the skin of self-worth here. Here I really feel the importance of rites of passage. Here I really feel the importance of a grieving process to be allowed to occur. Again, taking that moment, that's done. And that moment might have to keep coming up, you know, every minute during our day for those old patterns to be released. You know, you may feel like, I want this, no, I'm not worth that, and breathing, that moment's done. And that might come up again and again, and it's okay. We're at that changing point. We're 5. We're collectively at that changing point of knowing that those seeds have been planted. They have been watered from everything we've gone through in the past, and allowing that to show us our self-worth. Yeah, just really stripping back anything that stands in the way of that now, emotionally in particular. In the West, how do we do this? Beautiful, you just pause. My mind just paused. In the West, in the space of Otorongo, how do we do this with our physical body? We let go of the judgment. It's the only major arcana this week, collectively on a soul level, that huge level of judgment there can either help us rise. Well, no, I don't feel like there is an either anymore. I really don't feel it. It feels like the soul is so ready to rise, you know, and to take the human body with it. The soul is so ready to go to that next stage that it's like, come on, it's really, really time now. So how do we do that? Well, it's in the West. It is Otorongo. It is the physical body. We track in our environment. We track in our body. We go back to looking at what it is we are digesting. Does this resonate with us now? How does this feel? Come on, guys, this is an incredible tool, right? We use our body instead of fighting our body. Real emphasis on the soul wanting to evolve and rise, but wanting to take the physical body with it, wanting to take this earth to the next level, wanting to take our physical needs to the next level here, which cannot and will not happen if we have judgment over them. Underneath at the bottom of the pack, we have the King of Swords and the 5 of Pentacles. Unless we can really, really own this responsibility of our own needs now, this week in particular, we are going to be stuck in this poverty consciousness. We are going to have that suffering rather than the birth, the release, the creation. Yeah, we are going to be focusing on the pain and the lack. And coming into the 6-6 portal, I cannot stress that enough. With that energy, that lacking energy, the next 6 months have the potential to be that. Okay, so the Lovers card has two sides, like all sides. It has the shadow aspect as well. Like I say, it's the devil. What are we holding back by remaining in this space of lack? You know, why do we lack these things? How are we holding ourselves back from our own desires and our own needs and the responsibility of meeting them this week? It is very strict mental energy, and I love the fact that we have the King and Queen of Swords. Every week we have had the masculine, it makes me emotional, the masculine and the feminine together from a King and Queen perspective, from a real sovereign perspective, guiding us. And this week it is our mind. It is really about taking it up that next level this week in particular, to be really hold court for what is going on for ourselves. Okay, so one thing I do want to share before I look at the weekly energies and how best to navigate them is a dear friend of mine today shared something about a transitional object. I have a leather jacket and I got it yesterday. It's a bit too snug for me. I'd like it to fit a bit looser, and whenever I put this jacket on, I kind of see this new version of myself coming in that is a bit more trim, that has this jacket, and it's just a jacket. And some people have it with haircuts or a new phone or a pair of shoes or a child or whatever. What I'm getting at is the transitional object has almost become a rites of passage for what has happened, but what is also to occur. So this week in particular, getting yourself a transitional object. What is it you want to bring in the next 6 months? It's a new moon. We can still manifest with this new moon, but yes, Mercury is in retrograde, so it is about knowing that any manifestation is going to be on a deeper, more reflective energy, and may not quite pan out how we had expected, but it's letting go of expectations. Yeah, that's how we truly open up to receive what needs to be created, like that Nine of Pentacles, to allow it to fall down. So transitional object this week, it's more about recognizing the atom vibration you want to return to or bring in. Yeah, Back to the Future. It's that time loop here. So okay, I want to be X, Y, and Z. What object portrays that to you? It might be something you already have. It might be something you need to treat yourself to. It could be a vision board. It could whatever, but it feels like it needs to be tangible. It needs to be touchable. It needs to be able to be put on so that we can step into that energy. You know, you may find two trees together as a doorway. Use it as a doorway of stepping into that new energy that is waiting to come through, and doing it as many times as you need to. I can see some people buying wedding dresses and putting them on but whatever works for you, but really embodying it with something physical this week feels really, really relevant. Okay, energies. How best to navigate. It's so exciting. It might not feel like it, but it really is exciting. The energy, the potential this week is just, you know, it's raining outside and I think, goodness me. Today I said to my husband, we're in June and it's raining, and we're not in June. We're in May. And I can really feel the energy of June coming up. Really feel the excitement of summer coming and everything else. But recognizing that we're not quite there yet gives us the opportunity to celebrate where we have been and where we are going. And that's not just in regards to the weather, that's in regards to whatever is going on. You know, when we recognize we might not quite be where we are given a doorway, an open opportunity to celebrate with gratitude what we have gone through, what we have discovered, and then that ensures that has completion. Okay, so that's how we navigate the energies this week. End of. Right, so, Five of Wands and the Devil. Five of Wands, the Devil, and Five of Pentacles. So we are at big physical, spiritual changing points here, but it is about saying to the Devil, yes, okay, I'm willing for you to show me where I've been holding myself back now. I feel like a little necessary evil laugh. Anyway, so navigating the energies this week. Okay, Monday, wow, yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, itchy nose, Saturday, Sunday, overall, and I do want two for the overall. Okay, so we do have some major arcanas this week, and the beginning part of the week is very fire-like. Very, very fire-like. And I'm not surprised to see the devil right at the end of the week and the whole way through the week, really, as we lead into the 666 portal. So overall for this week we have the King of Swords and the Eight of Cups, and there's a real emphasis there of, does that mean I need to walk away from X, Y and Z? Does that mean it's over? Does that mean, you know, there's no going back? And we are in Mercury retrograde. We are looking at how we relate. Is it too late? Only we can decide that this week, because we do have the King of Swords here. Only we can decide what it is we actually want, what it is we're actually willing to look at. Okay, so I could really feel different energies then, and it is very much about standing in our own wisdom, standing in what it is we are here to provide. So for me, it's the collective reading, and I could really feel my own stories coming through then. So let's get it back to the collective for me personally, and standing in the wisdom of that and walking away from the distraction of other people's stories, their comfort zones, right? You know, if we can be distracted by something, and I was going to say I need a different word for distraction, but actually no, let's call it for what it is this week. We can be distracted by something, and it takes us back to a place that we've been in, that we've dealt with, that we know how to deal with, and that's comfortable. This week it's really looking at that, guys. It's really taking responsibility for that, because on the Monday we have death and rebirth. We have that incredible opportunity of a new beginning here, of a fresh start. A fresh start that's actually an infinite start. So we have the infinity symbol here, and we have the 13, and it is to do with the goddess, and it is to do with her journey. It is to do with the feminine today in particular, you know, and that's how we recognize why what we want individually affects the collective, because our journeys, our stories, everything that we share, our beliefs, our concepts, everything are all part of the Earth's story, and we're here to express that. So by saying what we need in order to do that, we're allowing that story to come up for healing, whatever it may be. And there's a real I can't stress it enough, it's just real. It's real today. It's really real for everybody, you know, that rebirth. I was saying to I think it was my husband or my friend, you know, I will go into the court case that is going on between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and what I really felt was such a monumental karmic energetic ripple across time in regards to the masculine and feminine as a result of what these two souls are bringing to the surface. And I don't want to go into who's right or who's wrong, because I personally share the opinion of this huge story that is playing out, and for a story to play out, everyone has their part. People are going to resonate more with certain parts of it, and that's their story, that is their energy that is coming up to be completed now. And yeah, impactful today in regards to the changes that are available with the divine feminine, and they start to really take place into Tuesday, because we have the Queen of Wands here. And it's interesting that we have the Queen of Wands and the King of Swords, so it is really about being connected to our higher spirit, and allowing that to guide us this week to find our own light and help others light their own from there, to really keep bringing it back to the self. Really, what light am I shedding? What light am I shining? What light am I sharing? The 3 S's. So last week it was P, this week is S's, the 3 S's. Yeah, what am I shedding? What am I shining? What am I sharing this week? On the Wednesday, when we do that, we have the 8 of Wands. So again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, very fiery type energy, clearing through everything, and very quick here. But we have 8, which is the mastering, and many things coming together. I love how we have the Queen of Wands on the Tuesday, and she has her staff, and on the Wednesday all those staff come together. Yeah, together. I felt like my voice went really then, but looking at our communication on the Wednesday, when all these different energies come in, because that's when we get knocked, right? That's when we end up unsure of who we are, because we can be impacted by these other molecules, these other energies, these other beliefs and spirits around us. So it is about really recognizing actually we're all part of this, but really connecting to what it is we bring and who we are on the Wednesday in order to keep that grounded mastery of the spirit, most definitely this week. On the Thursday we have the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so what I feel is like, I can't believe I'm seeing that again. And I'm looking at the time and it's like, time is running out. This has been a nearly an hour long video now, and it wasn't intending to be that long. And really getting out of our own way about how long things take, because that really brings in a victim mentality, like I should have done this by now, and you know, have I not shifted this by now, why am I back here? And it's a turning point. It's the five. It's recognizing things take as long as they take, and they're sacred in that. There's sacredness in that, and when we tap into that sacredness, that's where we get the rites of passage, and that's where we ultimately get the swift healing, when we let go of the expectation of how long things should take, in particular with our physical circumstances this week on the Thursday. And then on the Friday we have Temperance. And when we can do these things, when we can be in fast changing energy, hold our own and still maintain sacredness, we become Temperance. We can observe, we can witness without withdrawing, which could be one of the things that comes up this week, in particular with the Gemini new moon today. Really being aware of, you know, withdrawing from what is occurring in regards to relationships with ourselves and each other, but instead holding space. There's a real difference there. And yeah, come Thursday, Friday even, if we can stand in that, then there's huge potential to be at one, again that infinite sign, to be at one with the past, the future, the present, the light, the dark, the masculine, the feminine, each other, ourselves, the earth, source. To be at peace, right? Because when we're at peace with all these parts, we can be at peace with all parts of ourselves. And the soul retrieval, the peace within, the peace that perhaps we've been trying to find, searching for in others, is there automatically, because we're at peace with all things, ourselves included. Whole other level. And what I'm seeing is, by the 666 portal, we do have the opportunity not to be the masculine, our actions on the Lover's card, searching the reflective feminine wisdom, not to be the feminine, searching for the higher guidance, but to be all three. And to do that, we must step into our higher beings, our higher self, uniting our physical and our spiritual. On the Saturday, how? It's that good old Christ consciousness. It's that good old heart. Come the Saturday, it is about really letting the heart be free. And particularly all week, I'm just noticing my phone is going off left, right and centre. Allowing that communication to go off in the background, but staying in the heart, allowing these old stories to be seen. And I can see the analogy of a child going, mummy, mummy, or daddy, daddy, or sister, sister, whatever you want to call it, trying to get our attention. And that's okay. Just holding space, being in our heart space, ensuring that we are overflowing before we share, really caring for our own needs. Back to basics here, guys, and just being open to receive whilst allowing the old to flow. And on the Sunday and overall, there we have the Devil. Yeah, just the most incredible card, saying, okay, are you ready? Are you ready to look at what's holding you back? And in this card, there's enticement there, there's seduction there, there's all the basics that we would assume with the Devil. But there's joy there in this card, and there's serenity, and there's peace, and there's surrender. Like, okay, I'm so ready to see this now. I've tried to hide this, I've tried to ignore this, and actually I trust you. And it's very much about trusting our own ability to be with our own shadow this week. Very much about trusting our own ability to hold space. I can't stop staring at his eyes. To hold space for our thoughts, our emotions. And, you know, we get that by reflecting on all the times that we have to build trust, not to think, oh, we've got no further, but to recognize actually we've done this before, which means we can do this again. And to really have trust in ourselves, because once we have trust in ourselves, we stop holding ourselves back. Once we can trust our light, yeah, it's going back to those 3 S's. We can shed with the light, which is easy, much easier. You know, like Amaru in one movement, the snake that sheds her skin in one movement. We can shine with the light, which is joyful and playful and spontaneous and life-giving, life-affirming. It's about living, right? And then we can share that with everybody. A much, much different journey available by the end of this week if we are willing to surrender. That's the other S. Okay, so shed, shine, share, surrender. Try and say all those S's in one go without saying something else. Okay, so what do we have? Let's do a recap. We have 1, and it just feels so chilled by the end of it, or all the way through it. If we just do those 4 S's, something comes up. I've done this. I'm shedding that. What do I need to do to reaffirm to myself that I've done this, or do I need to do something about this? How can I shine? What can I bring to light here in this situation? What can I share? How am I sharing? How can I surrender in acceptance to everything that is going on? And surrender and acceptance do cause a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but what we mean here is illumination. Yeah, liberty. How can we illuminate the freedom that is waiting for us if we just stop doing these things and pause for a minute? Yeah, and when those things are achieved, there's a real sense of, wow, needing to ground. It's that page of cups, because it just feels incredible. It feels loved, it feels held, it feels divinely protected. When we can step into being the divine protectors, we then divinely protect ourselves, and we feel safe and secure and connected and belonging and beloved, and yeah, worth. We feel that worth. Okay, so we have 3 major arcanas, which is creativity, right? It is birth, and we have death, temperance, and the devil. So if we can just hold space for these changes that are occurring, because it's death and rebirth here, if we can hold space for these changes that are occurring by actually looking at what's stopping us from doing that, looking at the light that's trying to be born, looking at the shadow aspects of ourselves, huge changes available this week. I do feel that slightly in my kidneys, so watching the adrenal energy this week, watching that we don't go into too much of a fight or flight, or that we don't act from a fight or flight, and lots of adrenal care, lots of fluids, maybe looking at the caffeine without lecturing, and alcohol and things, like all these things that our kidneys struggle to break down and to flush. Doesn't feel like it's the level of a detox. If anything, that feels like it could add to the adrenal fatigue here, but just really nurturing ourselves and just flushing out naturally, allowing this flush to occur naturally. So we then have 1, 2, 2 wand cards, beautifully balanced, moving forward by recognizing who we are in the Queen of Wands and nurturing that. We're talking the Queen, so we're talking nurture here, nurturing who we are, and then connecting to the fast changes that are available by being who we are and allowing everyone else to be who they are. We then have 1, 2 cup cards, again beautiful balance. So we have the 8 of cups and the Ace of cups. So for everything that we are letting go of, celebrating that with the rites of transition, celebrating that a rites of passage, a nurture. For everything that we let go of, bring something in. Become this receiving, giving vessel, not just this clearing vessel or this taking vessel, both. So, okay, I've really worked hard down the gym today, I'm going to have a massage. Or, okay, I've really scrubbed through the house, I'm going to sit and have a cup of tea. Or not tea, because I've talked about caffeine, a beautiful cup of smoothie or something. It's a real nice treat for me. Keeping that balance so that the healing becomes worthwhile, so that the journey becomes worthwhile. We then have 1 sword card, and one pentacle card, and I want to put them together because we only have the one of each. It's like, in order for there to be balance, we need to look at our physical body and our thoughts. Okay, and if we can keep our thoughts higher, like the King of Swords, that's fantastic. But also remembering that we need to bring that grounded. We do have a physical body as well. So sometimes when we can look at all different sides of an angle, we can see all different perspectives and we can see the higher vision, we forget our own individual vision. And physically that this week can leave us lacking, because we're a physical being as well. Ultimately, when we are too much in the physical, I'm struggling with this is happening, that's happening, it all becomes about the physical body and the emotions, then we can lose sight of that higher vision. So in order to have that balance this week, keeping our thoughts clear, our actions just as clear and determined, and really taking care of physical business, taking care of business, that's what I hear, taking care of business this week, to help support the undercurrent of change that wants to occur. And underneath we do have the Ace of Wands and the Fool, and I'm going to close it on the and the Sun. Okay, I'm going to close it on these three cards. Okay, so we have the Ace of Wands, and there is that beautiful inspiration coming through this week, in particular in regards to our vision. So it's going back to that star energy again, and our own worth around it. Right? There's no point having a vision of something that we want if we never believe that we're worthy of it, because all that will happen is we will not, like Mary, we will not find an inn to deliver. We will not be able to create what it is we have been yearning for. And what that does is make us feel less worthy. That makes us feel less beloved. Yeah, so really, really looking at whether or not we feel worthy to obtain and receive what it is we're trying to receive. And where does that come from? That comes from the Fool, the Heyoka energy, lightening it up, seeing things for the first time, guys, for the first time. If you want a new relationship, if you want a new job, if you want a new way of being healthy or whatever, if we continually compare it to things that didn't work, or even things that did work, to an extent it will never be new. So really, really, if we want this death and rebirth is to rebirth something new, not the old. And it is really about allowing that to be the center, the beginning point of everything we do this week in regards to the Ace of Wands. Really letting that new spirit, that new vision, that new yearning drive us forward. Otherwise we are going to repeat the same stories. And that's where we get the Five of Pentacles, the self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so if we want new, it is up to us to see new. And if something comes up that makes us question that, in particular in relation to ourselves and our own self-worth, to really, really look at that. And how do we look at that? With our light, with our sun, with our connection here, with our path, with the journeys that we have walked. Gosh, you can't even hardly see that card, but we open our heart space to the source of who we are this week. And it is going back to those 4 S's. I mean, she just depicts, it's 5 now, I guess, the sun. This week it is about becoming the sun. It is about becoming the light. Okay, it's about becoming that of the solstice, right? That longest day. We've had our longest day. Oh, it's coming, and it is about recognizing the only way through that is to be the sun. Okay, so we do shed when it's warm, right? We take our clothes off when it's warm. It gets too hot, we become the lovers on the lovers card. We become not naked, or maybe naked, but we take our clothes off. We remove the layers that we don't need, the excess layers that we don't need this week. We shed. Okay, we then shine, right? When we're out in the sun, we shine. That light just beams down on us and through everything that we do, and we share. When it's sunny, we share. We're outside and we're sharing picnics and we're sharing time with family, and we share and we surrender. We pause when it's sunny. If we get the chance, we pause. And what I really hear is not if we get the chance, taking time to pause this week to embrace the light in each moment. So there is a video on my YouTube channel where you can bring the light down. And you can bring it down to fill the cells in your body, because we come from the sun. Yeah, it's our original source of light. You bring the light down into the body to fill your cells, to illuminate yourself. You can also use the sun to clear your 11 eyes. Yes, I did say 11 eyes, our energy centers, and to really see the truth of what is occurring. And it can really help to release any fear. And this week in particular, it does feel like fear. I'm being drawn to say temptation. Fear in regards to temptation may very well be the emphasis this week that just needs snipping to get rid of. So have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will share a link to the video I've just mentioned, because it feels very relevant to bring that light into our heart. Yes, that's the Ace of Cups this week, to bring that sun energy into our heart and let it top us up. Yeah, to really let it fill us up this week in particular. And of course, with more light, there is more shadow. This is natural. To recognise that, to recognise the devils that we are, to recognise that we do bring these things on ourselves so that we can find our own light. That's the whole point of shadow work. So when something comes up, the best way to take it lightly is to know that we've brought that in, for the most part, to see something about ourselves or the world around us that is holding us back from really seeing the light that we are. That's going to be confusing this week. That's going to cause some confusion, and I've just pulled 2 cards for that, and it is because it's in relation to our growth. Many people have not seen or do not see where they have grown and how much they have grown, and they're causing unnecessary endurances here. And the Emperor, it's been going on since 2020. So when we were year 4, since 2020 this has been going on, and it's about really recognizing the growth since 2020 and that clear vision that occurred from there, and how much we have earned it. 2020 would have been COVID, it would have been everything. So yeah, really seeing the journey over the last 2 years. This week in particular, in order to have closure. May that be so for everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I shall see you next week. Take care.